Jack Klugman is Quincy, weekdays at 4.
Live from the news leader, this is KREM-2 Weekend News.
In churches and synagogues across the country, this was a day of remembering the 7 Americans who died aboard the Space Shuttle Challenger this week. In Washington State, Shuttle Commander Dick Scobee was remembered in his hometown of Auburn. Good evening, I'm Tom McArthur. Leslie Donovan has the night off. This was a day of mourning what was taken away from us and a day of celebrating what had been given to us. In Auburn today, more than 500 people gathered for a memorial service for Shuttle Commander Dick Scobee. The pews were filled with Scobee's relatives and classmates from Auburn High School. They remember Dick Scobee as a quiet, friendly man who felt deeply connected to this part of the world.
A couple of months ago, he called me just to see how things were back home. I was surprised, delighted, and touched that he would take the time from his hectic schedule just to make a phone call of that nature.
Dick Scobee possessed the qualities necessary to rise to the top of a select competitive profession. He was and is a model to each of us.
But Father, as well, we are gathered together in gratefulness for this life which meant so much. For we realize that lives are not to be measured only by their length, but even more so by their contribution.
In the middle of all this grieving, there is hope, the hope of a child who wants to see a new space shuttle. Michael Salantoy of Bellevue has begun raising money to build a new shuttle by canvassing his neighborhood for contributions. The young scientist has set up a bank account at Rainier Bank called Pennies for Space, Rebuild the Spirit. Michael thinks it is a good idea and says other kids will think so too.
Well, I think most of them are going to feel like it's a good idea. Some of them, of course, will think, nah, one blew up. Who cares? But most of them will probably think that, maybe this is a good idea.
Although it's starting as a statewide effort, Pennies for Space will soon connect with a national effort in New York, building the spirit one small step at a time. This has been a day of searching between Auburn and the Cascade Mountains for what witnesses say was a second plane involved in a mid-air collision yesterday. The first plane crashed near Black Diamond, killing the pilot, 24-year-old Kim Rorick of Boise, Idaho. Rorick worked as a Horizon Air pilot. He was on a private flight to visit relatives in Kent. Rorick's Cessna 195 is believed to have crashed after colliding with another plane in flight. That second plane has yet to be found, and no light planes are missing or overdue in the area. The search will continue tomorrow. Friends of Gino Casanova ended their fast at a cow pasture in Kent this weekend. Supporters of the MIA cause, Mike and June Malone and Dwayne Powell, fasted here at the same place Casanova fasted for 51 days. Casanova, a Vietnam veteran, has said it's time to stop fasting and begin lobbying for MIAs. Casanova plans to haul this bamboo hut to Washington, D.C. in hopes of convincing the president that there are MIAs still being held in Southeast Asia. Cabin fever may have been just what prompted thousands of people to go to Spokane's boat show this weekend. Despite the rain, attendance broke a 30-year record. While boats were not the only big-ticket items being eyed this weekend, our coverage begins with Susan Howard at the boat show.
With photographer Mike Gallimanis, Don Reese, KREM-2 News.
There are some bad candy sellers going around in Spokane. We'll explain in just a minute. Also, a different look at working on the railroad when KREM-2 News continues. Has anyone been to your door selling candy, cookies, or peanuts lately? If someone has and claimed to be from the Disabled American Veterans, he was a phony. The DAV says they have received numerous calls lately about solicitors using the DAV name. The calls have been mostly from senior citizens. The commander of the local DAV chapter says they don't even sell food items, only these flags.
These flags. When we solicit, we have to show identification, and anytime a child or an adult that can't show this identification, they're not working for the DAV. And we do not solicit for funds.
Jones says it appears kids between 5 and 20 years of age are doing the soliciting. If they come to your door, ask for identification, and if that looks phony, call the police. Next time you go to the liquor store, you could be in for a surprise. The price on imported liquors has dropped about $2 a bottle, effective this weekend. The Washington State Liquor Control Board is responsible for that change. They've started buying directly from European brokers instead of buying through U.S. importers or distributors. That saves the money, and they're passing the savings on to you. 6 European imported liquors will now be sold at reduced prices, each one clearly marked as a direct import. Railroad buffs gathered in Spokane today to swap train sets and old stories. This was the 10th annual Model Railroad Swap Meet, and Don Reese tells us a lot of folks came just to see the trains.
With photographer Mike Gallimanis, Don Reese, KREM-2 News.
Nice bright sunshine on those trains, but that's not the scene in Spokane.
Heck no, lots of clouds in the area. Also some showers in most of Spokane and the Inland Empire. This is Groundhog Steve. We'll have the weather forecast and a groundhog report right after this.